I am doing great, Mark, and hope everyone else is. And yes, I'm chomping at the bit to do a New York presentation from Atlanta or something. I guess this is the third time we have picked BioReference Labs. I was looking at the chart at the beginning and noticed it. I remembered it being my first pick, but noticed it's still in the red. But again, patience. In fact, I encourage most new investors not even to really worry about performance for 18 to 24 months. So,
Well, that's one of the reasons I included this price chart too, Si, because you can see that there have been flat spots in the stock price behavior for this company, and this is just another one of them flat spots.
yes, it is. But when we get to Ken's favorite slide on up, straight, and parallel, you'll see there haven't been flat spots too much from the growth perspective. But yes, the price, as you can see, does tend to do it. And one thing I'll just mention about the company before we move on to the other slides is realize this is still by Better Investing annual sales characteristics or description, a small company. It's below 500 million in sales, and although it has been around for, I think the slide I sent you said 30 years, it's actually, I don't know where I got that. My notes said that, but it's actually been around 25 years, and since '86, and been public for 17 of those. So it's not a new company, and it's a very fast-growing company, and still can meet our manifest criteria for being a small company of based on growth rate. So, and in fact, that's exactly how I decided to pick BioReference this month. I just simply took the Roundtable dashboard, which Mark showed you earlier, sorted by par. I noticed BioReference was in the sweet spot at 16.1, and I said, let's just see what the highest growth, where it ranks on growth. So I ranked by growth, and you see it's the top growth company, or the company with the highest projected growth rate in our portfolio. So I said, well, shoot, let's go for BioReference again. Just to refresh everybody's memory on BioReference, it is a medical laboratory. They believe that they are the fourth largest full-service clinical laboratory in the United States. I was trying to remember as I was reviewing this today who the three higher companies are, and I cannot remember one of them. I believe it may be a privately held lab, and that's why I can't recall. But the two largest are, of course, the big national companies, Quest Laboratories and LabCorp of America. They are huge. As you can see, BioReference, I mentioned, has right at 500 million in sales, as we'll see when we get to the equity analysis guide, but they are the fourth largest at that. It's a very fragmented industry. BioReference is also a bit of a dual personality company. They are a full-service medical clinical laboratory operating in the New York City region. They call it the super region. It's the New York City metro area and then surrounding areas of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut. They then extend a little bit in other areas of New York into Pennsylvania, also some in Delaware and Maryland. In that market, they are second in share to Quest Diagnostics, having overtaken LabCorp in the New York market. They have about 18% according to the last figures, which are a couple of years old. Then their next area, and it's the high growth, high profitability portion of their business, is specialized testing, and they do that nationally. They are very big. They're in, I believe, 46 states on correctional health care. Again, that is just providing the full range of medical testing as well as drug testing and some of that sort of analysis for correctional institutions. Then they are in what they call esoteric testing, which is very specialized testing areas, and that is the higher margin sorts of tests in oncology and other cancer services, women's health, and then a very small portion that they picked up in an acquisition a few years ago but are hoping to continue to expand is genetic testing. All right, here's the up straight and parallel history that I mentioned. And
We're chanting.
again,
We're chanting.
there, that's right, up straight parallel. The Atlanta gentleman talking about a New York company and using the Midwest Michigan or mid-Michigan chant of up straight and parallel. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's been around since actually 1986, publicly traded for 17 years. So while it's a small company, it's a very experienced management team and company. And that growth rate is right at 20%. It's actually a little above for the last 10 years. For the full 17 years they've been public, it's 20%. Here's my equity analysis guide with the 3 key judgments circled. I'm projecting a 20% continued sales growth rate. That's actually a little above the analyst tracking the company at Yahoo, primarily because the company has guided down a little bit, but probably a little bit. They've been guiding down a little bit for the last 2 quarters, and growth has continued to exceed 20%. So I think the 20% is pretty reasonable. I think Manifest is carrying about a 21 right now. Net margin, you see, is 5.9, which is a little below the current net margin of 6.3. I've moved a little lower for 2 reasons. One, I like to be conservative on the net margin. I'm actually picking up about the median margin over the last 8 quarters or so at that 5.96% is where they were running for most of 2009, 2010. Also, the 6.3 is a little bit inflated by a state tax settlement that they had with New Jersey. New Jersey decided to be very generous, and when they reviewed BioReference's tax returns, and actually both sales tax returns as well as income tax, decided that they had over-reserved and overpaid for their taxes. And so the first quarter of 2011, actually their earnings per share, I think, increased on a GAAP basis somewhere around 70%. That obviously is not going to be sustainable because New Jersey's not going to keep giving back taxes. So I took that into account in my net margin. Shares have been pretty even over the last few years, slightly increasing, so I bumped that up to about 29 million shares. The company has authorized a buyback, although they have not executed too much of that. They've started a small buyback, but I didn't take that into account. That leads to our earnings per share of $2.43 5 years from now. Average PE ratio, again, right at about the current PE, which is 20, and that's consistent with the historical averages pretty much. Leads to a potential potential stock price 5 years out of 48, compared to a little over 22 being the current price, and a projected annual return or a par of 16.8%. The company does not pay a dividend, and at least right now, none is anticipated. So there's my pick.
I wasn't aware that there were any states out there in a position to be generous at all.
I
not the one we're in.
Not down here either. I think the revenues have been going the wrong way, but I guess New Jersey wanted to reward perhaps bio reference. I don't
Very
know.
generous. Ken, are we showing any comments or questions at this point? Do we want to dig into anything?
Yeah, this is an interesting question from Barbara. She says that our stock investment guide software allows us to plot cash flow per share, which shows very significant swings year to year. Has anybody investigated this, and can you shed some light on the topic of cash flow?
Interesting.
Yes, I have not taken a look at that. While Mark is throwing out CSCO and we're wrapping up a few things, I'll see if I can take a couple of quick looks at cash flow. I don't watch cash flow particularly closely. The primary review of cash flow that I do in some cases, and I haven't done, at least in my memory that I can call up right now with BioReference, is compare operating cash flow to net profit. And if there's any discrepancies there, then I may look closer. But that's the primary, at least routine cash flow that I do. But I'll try and take a look, and maybe before we close out, have some more comments on that.
Sure. Take a look at that sign. When I wrap up CSCO, I'll pull up the value line on BRLI and see if we can see anything there that we might talk about, and just maybe talk about cash flow analysis in general a little bit more.
Right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Well,
Dan.
that's it for now. That's all we have for tonight in terms
Mark,
of this stuff.
Mark, if we could go back just for a second to the free cash flow point about BioReference Labs. Dan Hess makes the point that Morningstar seems to suggest free cash flow is rather volatile due to capital expenditures, while Value Line shows cash flow per share is quite stable and rising. Since Better Investing is now using Morningstar data, his suspicion is that you're seeing this volatility due to the change in the data and the different philosophies of how to report it. Ken Peters is actually telling us the cash flow data, and it's rising it's going all over the place from 1 to 10, and it just moves up and down and everywhere else. Cy, were you able to find anything else out about cash flow?
Well, basically, Ken, I agree with both of them. What is being plotted on the stock analysis software, the toolkit or whatever, is free cash flow, and Ken has accurately posted that's not free cash flow per share, but that's Morningstar's free cash flow for the company as a whole, which works out to the per share figures, I think, that are shown on the NAIC data feed. So Dan is correct there, and I also agree with Dan that it's capital expenditures that causes the fluctuation. If you look at operating cash flow, it's quite steady.
Yeah, that's what I'm showing here.
Yeah.
Value line.
And that's what I watch is operating. Yeah, that's what I look at as a routine matter. I'll go and look at the other items if something looks funny, but I don't. Morningstar is very strong on the free cash flow, and I think Dan advocates a cash flow analysis some. I don't want to speak for him. I don't look real close at free cash flow routinely, although it certainly makes sense in evaluating, for example, debt, as Ken mentioned earlier with Waste Connections. You do want to see what cash they have available to pay debt, and so that might warrant looking a bit closer. But BioReference, whenever they build a new laboratory, they have capital expenditures, and that appears to account for the up and down.
Mark, we're pretty clear on the questions log at this point. I just wanted to let you know that at one point this evening we were at an all-time high on the roundtable. We hit 100. We hit 104 attendees. We hope that we'll keep on growing. And folks, if you'd like to be added to the Mid-Michigan list of people where we remind them when the roundtable is going to be and give them a link to register, just drop a line to n Kavula, Kavula1 at Comcast.net. That's nkavula1 at Comcast.net. You're corresponding with my wonderful wife, and she will add you to our list and let you know as a reminder the next time the roundtable is going to be scheduled.